Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of my own personal blog or my personal blog from within the Entrepreneur Suite. So, today, no startup talk because I thought after 4 months of hosting Startup Talk, this would be a good time to just think about where are we today, how is it going with the show, what's going good, how far have we come, and what can be improved further. And after last week, after the show, I decided it was time to do a bit of a reflection. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to talk to you about Startup Talk, the show, how is it going? And I decided that some changes will be needed, or I want to try out something new. And I want to tell a bit more about those changes that are coming. So, as said, not the usual episode. It won't be as long as my aim was to make it within 10 minutes, but I'm not keeping any promises here. But yeah, let's get started. So let me see. Yes, this works. It's always good to see when technology works. So today we're going to talk about the show, how far we have come in the last 4 months, the lessons learned. So what's going good, what can improve, what can be improved, what are those upcoming changes I keep talking about, and what are next steps? What can you expect? Now, before we get into that, first, make sure to like and subscribe. My goal for the Entrepreneur Suite is to help you be the amazing entrepreneur you are meant to be and to have that amazing business you're meant to have. And I do this by, not only hosting Startup Talk every week, but also with tips and tricks via Instagram and Facebook. And if you want to know more about me, the show, The Entrepreneur Suite, check out theentrepreneursuite.com. And of course, if you're more into podcasts, if you're like, I don't always need to see what I'm hearing, then Startup Talk is also available on iTunes and Spotify. So however you're tuning in, there's always a way to tune in on the Entrepreneur Suite. Now, let's talk about Startup Talk so far. So in the last 4 months, we've had 16 episodes in total with 14 guests and over 650 minutes of content. Now, I know. For a YouTube channel, those are not big numbers. Those are, nice numbers when you're just getting started for 4 months. And that's also how I'm viewing it. So it's 16 episodes more than I had 4 months ago. It's 650 minutes more than there were 4 months ago. And for the people who didn't see everything, who think like, hey, wait a minute, how can you have 16 episodes and 14 guests? That is because in the first episode, I decided to take the microphone by myself and tell a bit more about my vision of the Startup Suite. And we had a session about how to prevent overwhelm. And we had a last-minute cancellation somewhere during episode 7. So my great friend Alina was so gracious to come back for a second time. So that's why we have a bit of a difference in there. But as you can see, we've had a nice mix of really amazing guests. And the really great thing is that every week they brought an amazing topic to the table as well. So I thought, well, let's make a list about those as well. And the great thing is, my goal. The goal of Startup Talk is to just have a casual digital coffee every week and talk about a topic that will help you grow as an entrepreneur or to start up and level up your business. So we've had entrepreneurial topics, we've had business topics of all sorts, and in the end, it all helps in, it's specific. It's something every week you could do something immediately with it. When you look at the whole overall picture, everything is fitting together as well. The whole puzzle is coming together. So if you wanted to grow as an entrepreneur, we spoke about growth mindset. We spoke about preventing overwhelm. We spoke about failing fast, failing often. But we also spoke about a lot of topics that are very relevant when you're starting or leveling up your business. How to negotiate, how to create amazing teams, how to get publicity, how do you compete with the giants? How to do crowdsourcing. I mean, it's a big thing, but how do you do crowdsourcing? And of course, also marketing. Marketing is always a big thing. Marketing is all about how do you connect with your audience And yeah, that's also a lot of, testing and trying. So we spoke about how to make marketing fun, how to do marketing on autopilot, how to do online advertising, which is, which is the next step in marketing, or which is the next step after your marketing strategy. And if I look at this list of topics we've spoken about, I think every episode had this aha moment, at least for me, where I was like, there was at least one moment in every episode where I was like, wow, that's actually something really good to know. I did not know you could find out how you're being targeted by ads. How do you find that out? We learned that last week. If you haven't found that, check it out. So I'm also very curious. Well, the thing is, if I'm learning something, then I'm hoping that you guys learn something as well, because in the end, that's the goal of Startup Talk. That it's not about me learning a lot, but it's about serving you, my audience, as well. So what I'm actually really curious about is, what was your aha moment in those last 16 episodes? What's the one thing that's still sticking to you, like, oh wow, that's actually a really good one? Let me know in the comments, because I'd love to know, because that's also a sign to me like, hey, that stuff is resonating. So let me know in the comments. Now, of course, we have this whole overview of topics. But one thing that also struck with me is that, some topics come back, or some things are part of a bigger picture that keep coming back. And I call those my key takeaways so far. The first thing that really sprung out for me, was mindset. The importance of having an entrepreneurial mindset, to not have a fixed mindset, but to accept growth, to accept failing and learning, to not live in a fixed world where the world is just as it is and there's nothing that you can do about it, but seeing that you can change, and you can change the world. It will take effort, it will take frustration, but you can do it. So that's something that really kept coming back in a lot of episodes. The second thing for me as well was knowing your audience. It may not be a surprise. In the Netherlands, we call it an open door, but typically those doors are closed as well. The number one reason why companies fail is because they develop something that no one buys. Now, why would you develop something no one buys? Because typically you get to this point, this idea, where you think to yourself like, oh wow, this idea I'm having right now is better than, sliced bread or toasted bread, or I don't know how you like your bread. But anyway, it's the best idea ever, and I'm sure that once I put this out in the world, everyone will love this. Everyone will be like, oh yes, I would like one of those, or 10 of those, or I don't know how many of those. And then they bring it out into the world, and it turns out that everyone's like, I'm not having that problem, or it's not solving the problem I'm having, or it has another reason why I wouldn't buy it. It's not convenient, it's too pricey, it's not available in where I'm located, or I'm just not interested. So typically, you can boil that back down in, do you actually know your audience? What is the problem they have? How can you help them? How can you serve them? How can you serve your audience? And if that's not crystal clear for you, then that's something I would recommend to give a closer look at. So that's something really that came back often, not only in developing your idea and your product, but also when marketing it, when connecting with your audience on social media. Then you also need to know, who are these people, and where do they hang out, and how do you connect with them? So yeah, it's something that came back often. The third one is, have a plan. So I know, for me, I'm sorry for that one too. It's you are in the mindset. You're like, yes, I embrace imperfect action over perfection. So I'm just gonna jump right in and do the thing, and I'll see how far I come, and I'll see how far and how I'll get there. It's learning while doing, which is good. But if you then don't have a plan, there's a saying, failing to plan is planning to fail. Especially if it's a bit more of a complex business that you're starting, how are you going to do that? What's your business about? What's your product? What's your business model? How are you going to make money? How are you going to find your audience? How are you going to connect with them? How are you going to, what's unique about you? How are you going to do your marketing strategy? How are you going to get money if you need funding? I know and that's the thing with a plan. It's super easy to get into this state of like, I need to know all that thing about my plan. Oh, Dip, that's a lot. I'll just start somewhere, or I won't start, which would even be more of a pity, of course. So really having a plan and how to create a plan is something I saw coming back in a lot of episodes, and it's also something I want to make sure that's coming back in future content as well. And finally, it's about testing, testing, testing. And this links a bit back to that mindset, where it's about embracing learning. But it's also, so testing, testing, testing for me is really, or what I've learned in the last episodes, is really about taking something and don't run for it for a year. Run for it for a short amount of time. However long you need, but make sure you have these evaluation moments in between. And the shorter you keep that cycle of, do, check, improve, and do it again, the shorter you keep those learning cycles, the easier or the more connected you'll be with your audience, and the better fit your product will be as well. And that's, of course, one of the reasons why I'm also doing this review now, but it's after 4 months. I mean, I could have done Startup Talk for a year and I would have had a lot of fun and I would have told you guys a lot more right here, right now. But it's about keeping it short as well. What can I do right now to make the show even better for you? So it's really testing, testing, testing. Oh, I see that Tamsin, it's short in between. See that Tamsin, her aha moments. I can't remember that episode it was, but it was all around it's okay to fail, just to put yourself out into the world. Success is already for you. Also, that doesn't happen immediately. Success takes time. Oh, is that the truth? That's success always takes time. But that's my takeaway. Yeah, I love that. I think it was the second episode of about failing fast or forward, or it was about growth mindset. But yeah, that was a very good takeaway as well. And indeed, success takes time. It's persistence and keeping going. So we spoke about key takeaways. Now let's think about what was good about Startup Talk, because let's be honest, I thought there was a lot of good. I hope you guys agree with this, agree with me on here as well. I loved hosting the show. I love hosting the show. I still do. We've had amazing guests covering amazing topics that help you every week with directly actionable advice that you can move forward with immediately. So it really gave some valuable insights, those aha moments. And the great thing about it being live is that it gave these surprises and the unexpected. I'm sure I must have told that in the beginning of Startup Talk, but for those who don't know, Startup Talk isn't scripted. There's a structure, so the opening is typically kind of the same. It's the opening is the same. The announcement of the guest is typically in the same format. The wrap up is typically in the same format, and the first question to the guest is typically, something along the line like, "How did you get started?" But the rest is just really, let's just see how this goes. Let's see where this show is taking us. So sometimes you go into unexpected directions. We've had shows where dogs just came barking around and running around. We've had shows where the person itself, was just walking around with their cameras. We've had shows where, that's my bad. I should have done something. I can't do something about it. But I live next to a hospital, so when ambulances come, apparently my mic picks that up. So we've had ambulances in the show, and I think the downside of social media nowadays is that, everything is so picture perfect, but, life, being an entrepreneur, being a business, having a business, it's not picture perfect. If you know the backside and how sometimes something is being kept together by chewing gum and toothpicks, I actually prefer it to show a bit of realness, to show like, hey, sometimes things can and will definitely go wrong. So let's embrace it. I mean, that's what we're all here for as well, to not only learn, but to also see the good and the bad. And that was, and I remember, oh, I see Ronald also. I love the first episode, Fail Fast, Fail Often. That actually had a very nice twist as well. So that episode was about a winemaker who actually didn't like wine. Who knew? I couldn't script that. I couldn't find such a guy, even if I wanted to. But it just happened, and that's something that makes the show so great. So I really love that unexpected part. But of course, there's also some room for improvement. And the first thing that came to my mind is that, well, life is tricky, and I don't just mean life. That's a topic for a different show at a different time, and it's not really about entrepreneurship. So let's skip that for now. But doing life, having a live show, isn't always easy, and that has a few dimensions. The first one is my guests. I've actually had guests or potential guests who said, hey, I would love to be on the show, who I would love to have on the show because they had great content, but they couldn't make the usual time because, personal life, they have a right to a personal life, and because of time zone differences. So then we're actually missing out on some great content because you're fixed in that live schedule. I also notice with some guests, and apparently it's a bit of a thing with live shows as well, is that when you do a live show, your guests who rewatch have the impression like, hey, I have to be there in the spot, otherwise I miss part of the magic and it's not the same. And so it can be a bit frustrating for your viewers if they can't make the usual time slot. And I can imagine with time zones, with regular life, that the usual time slot for Startup Talk isn't always easy for people. And the third thing is also me, your host. I must admit, I'm noticing now that with the at least in the Netherlands, the lockdown, the Corona lockdown is being let go again. So life is opening up again. And then more often I have to make the decision like, hey, social life versus doing the live show. And of course, I decided to start Startup Talk for a reason, and I fully support that. And I always made that choice to show up for Startup Talk because that's what you do. That's what you do. But I'm noticing that sometimes it's more difficult to combine it with your own social life as well. So it's not a main reason, but it was something like, hey, it did cross my mind. And the second room for improvement is also that I want to bring in some of my own content. And so for those who don't know yet, I talked about it a bit last week, but who don't know yet, in the background, I am working on setting up the Entrepreneur Suite Tribe. And the tribe is your spot where you can go if you want to be that entrepreneur you're meant to be, if you want to start up your business or level up your business. If you're looking for masterclasses on a personal level or on how to start up your business, the tribe is there. If you want to connect with a community of like-minded entrepreneurs and really help each other through a genuine connection, that's what the tribe is for. And also to access a whole library of tools and resources and guides and templates that have proven to work for others, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel itself. Then the tribe is there for you as well. And I'm working. If you want to know more about the tribe, then go to the website of the Entrepreneur Suite /tribe, or just go to the homepage and click on tribe. And but the point is, I'm working in the background on creating content for the tribe, and I'm just noticing like, hey, I want to have stuff, part of that content, that I can also put out here. But Startup Talk itself isn't the place for that. Thank you, Tamsin. Thank you. That sounds amazing. You're amazing. No, because Startup Talk isn't the place for that. Because Startup Talk is about us learning from our guest. And I know some podcast or hosts do it like, oh, you have something to say. I have a lot to say about that as well. And then, they hijack their own show. And I don't want to do that. As the host of Startup Talk, I want my guests to tell their story, because then I'll actually learn something new. And then hopefully you guys will learn something new as well. But I just noticed like, hey, I don't have that place yet where I can share my own content without, hijacking Startup Talk. So, given those, I thought, well, let's put some changes into motion, starting with Startup Talk itself. First and foremost, the show will go on. Of course, as I said, I love doing the show. And I hope you love watching the show and joining the show, because of course it's not just about me that I like doing this. But it will not be live anymore. I felt a little bit conflicted to make that choice, to be like, oh, are we really stepping away from the live thing? But yes, it will not be a live thing anymore. But the show format will stay the same. Ooh, I made a typo. No, that's the image. That's being weird. Ignore that. No, the show format will stay the same. So it will still have, the opening and the closing, and there will be a structure, but it will still be unscripted. And I am not planning on doing a lot of editing, not only because of time efficient reasons, but actually the main reason for that is really to still have the surprising effect, the unexpected, and again, to show as well that sometimes life is messy, having a show is messy, having a business is messy. So I don't need the picture perfect thing. I actually want to show like, hey, this is part of it as well. It's the good and the bad. Now, besides the changes to Startup Talk, I also decided to add a new element. And this is what I call the quick tips. And those will be 5 to 10 minutes video lessons. And those will cover topics that are also covered more extensively in the tribe. So think about personal leadership, think about motivation, mindset, productivity. I know that's always an interesting topic, but it's also about starting and leveling up your business. So how to get clarity on your idea, how to take that abstract concept you have and actually make it tangible or very concrete. How to plan your business, how to do that whole business plan thing, how to develop your product, and how to successfully launch your product. And those quick tips will be alternating weekly with Startup Talk. So 1 week we'll have a 30-minute or 45-minute session with a guest in Startup Talk, and a week after that I'll release a quick tip on one of those topics or one of a subtopic of those topics, and that will be short and sweet. And then the next week we'll have Startup Talk again. So in that way we'll still have we have the best of both worlds, or at least I hope we have the best of both worlds. And then now and again, I will release a personal vlog, just like today. That's really for announcements and news, or whenever I want to share something from behind the scenes. And those will typically be 5 to 10 minutes videos. And while I say that, I see that I'm already talking now for 25 minutes. So I have some room to improve there as well. But those will be released whenever needed. So there won't be a strict schedule to it. It will just be, when we have a new event coming up or something like that, then I will release a personal vlog. Now, originally I had because of the live schedule and because I have a life myself as well, I planned a summer break a bit later in the year. But given that I decided to change things up for Startup Talk, I decided to move my break a bit to front. So the month of July will be my quote-unquote summer break, because let's be honest, as an entrepreneur, who actually has a summer break? Who actually has a break? No, but it's... No, that month will give me the time to make sure that everything is set up for that new cadence of the different videos, and to prepare that well. And then the show will be back in August, and in July I will still post on Instagram, but there will be no new content on YouTube. Except for one thing, because if you make a rule, you better have an exception as well, and that is a special event coming up somewhere in July, probably mid and July, and I can't tell too much yet about it because it's still being worked on in the background, but I will tell 4 things about it. 3.5, let's say 3.5. I will tell 3.5 things about it. One thing is that it's a collaboration with the amazing Tamsin Hall, who we know as the interview cheerleader. She was on the show, I think somewhere in the beginning. And she spoke about how to find the right co-founder and how to create amazing teams. And after that show, we connected some more, and we decided, you know what? This is the beginning of a beautiful friendship and collaboration. And Tamsin is also live here now in the call. She's in the chat if you want to learn more about Tamsin as well. And I don't want to give too much content away about it yet, except that it's something to do with leveling up your business by challenging yourself, and it has something to do with having a group of people who have your back whenever you need it as an entrepreneur. And more details about this special event will come early July. So really make sure to subscribe to either the Entrepreneur Suite or to the Interview Cheerleader, because we'll both be posting about it. Now, for those who are like, how did I subscribe to that? Well, fear not, it's right here. Make sure to like and subscribe here on YouTube and on Facebook, and to like the Entrepreneur Suite on Instagram. More information will also be posted on the website of the Entrepreneur Suite, which will then also be announced on the social media channels as well. Now, before I want to wrap up, I want to hear your thoughts. Given that you've been with Startup Talk, maybe you just joined in, maybe you're one of the first viewers ever since we got started. What did you think? Given the reflection we talked about today and the changes upcoming, did I miss anything? Did I miss any of the good? Did I miss any room for improvement? And maybe you're thinking to yourself, well, Saskia, you could change X, Y, and Z, and that would help me in this and this way. So let me know in the comments if you're watching this now or if you're watching this later. I would love to hear your feedback. And then I will see you again in the beginning of August or during that special event. And I will do my best to create the most amazing show as of August again. So thank you all for being here with me today. I really enjoyed having this is my first personal vlog, but I really enjoy doing it. And I hope you did too. And for now, I wish you all a very good evening and a very good July. And we will see each other either in July or in August again. Bye, guys.